Okay, so we're ready to start our next session, which is the charter market session. So welcome up onto the stage, Hibiki Umemoto, Sales Manager, Southeast Asia for Phenix Jet. Hibiki, just grab that seat there. And our second panelist is Ian Moore, Chief Commercial Officer of Vista Global. Just right there. And then we have got Jolie Howard, CEO of Le Voyage. Then we've got Rizkian Fazli, the Commercial Manager for Jetset. And Jetset, of course, is one of our conference sponsors. So we very much appreciate Jetset's support for the conference today. And our last panelist is Tom Kunsch, General Manager Singapore for Luxaviation. So thank you very much, guys, for making it, and Jolie for making it to the conference. I know some of you have travelled far and wide. So I'm just going to start this session with just a very general question that I'll pose to each of you. We can start with Hibiki and work our way down. The current state of the charter market. How would you describe the current state of the charter market, and what are the trends that are shaping demand today? Hibiki?
Yeah, thank you. So in terms of Asia, I think most of the people I've spoken to, including myself, I do feel that the charter market in general is slightly quieter than what we had 2 years ago. Maybe something fairly similar to what we had last year. But obviously, yeah, that really depends on the region. Where I used to be, I was in Tokyo until last year, and the charter market there has been quite steady, but it has never really kicked off. It has never really boomed. Whereas here in Southeast Asia, including China also, of course, there was always a much stronger demand, and a lot of regional travel is going on here. And of course, it depends on each country how the infrastructure is, how many options are there really if you want to travel on road by rail, how are the airlines, how many operators are there. So there are a lot of elements that really shape the demand. I pass it to you.
Good. Thanks.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. I would say first, the charter market in this region was softer last year than the year before. It felt that way. For us, we still managed through our program to grow about 16% on our program membership side, which we're happy about. But a lot of the clients in Asia are utilising our fleet globally as well. So it's not just demand for the region. We've seen an increase in the number of our international clients flying inside Asia as well, which I think is good for the economies of this part of the world. But if you look at the growth of this market, it's probably hasn't really truly recovered from the COVID times pre sort of 2020. And it's a competitive market now. 10, 15 years ago, there weren't many ultra long range aircraft in the market. And if they were on the market, they were on the market sparingly because owners weren't releasing them. There's now a lot more competitors out there, a lot more discerning and educated clients that can decide which operator they want to use, and it creates a competitive environment. But I mean, if you look at the Asia market in general, long-term growth with the amount of money that's being created here and compared to other markets around the world, we still think Asia Pacific as a region will be a major part of our business for the next 10 years.
Thanks, Ian. Jolie, hand over to you.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. We are seeing, a number of different trends in the market. So I think I agree with, what Ian said is the last 6 months, we certainly see some softening on the charter. But these are really for the previous regular charter on long-range airplane, bigger airplanes. But however, we're also seeing trends of, the new entrants into the market. I guess we see that a little bit more in our charter platform because we also have a travel business where we actually see a lot of customer growing from the commercial side or mixing commercial and private travel together, which we arrange a lot around the world. So we're seeing those new entrants coming into the market. Probably a lot of them are first timers or second timer or have chartered some time ago or have been on someone's airplane some time ago. So we're seeing those trends, and they are looking for opportunity to use, and they are looking for occasions to use. However, the one that has been traditionally, I would say, maybe even pre-COVID, a lot of the time are more mature charter client. Those one, we've seen a big growth is a lot of aircraft were being sold, and those people are not, changing necessarily their lifestyle. So they were going into the charter market. But I think with the economy, with the change, the situation worldwide. So I think, those kind of bigger money may be a little bit, softening. We feel that it's temporary, it's obviously reflecting, general what the world's happening. But however, the new trend for us is we're seeing that as the interesting growth part. And they are looking for smaller planes, not necessarily always, the heavy jet, intercontinental, the super mid-size aircraft or even mid-size. Sometimes they would ask for a smaller plane. So we see a little bit more of those demands growing. So these are interesting trends that we're seeing in our platform.
Thanks very much, Jolie. Rizkian, I'll hand over to you.
Okay. For us, we're based in Jakarta, Indonesia, which is Indonesia is quite different compared to other countries in Southeast Asia. So we have our own market, we have our own trends in Jakarta, in Indonesia. And the current state of the current market state in Indonesia and Jakarta is very dynamic. Back then in 2024, we were focused with the political mission because we were having the presidential election. We almost fully occupied by the political mission instead of other demands. So, and about the shaping trend, when it was COVID-19 outbreak, in 2020 to 2021, it drives the client from the having a lot of restriction in some destination, and then it drives the client from airlines to the business jet, which is this matter currently make them realize that the business jet has been giving them the efficiency along with the convenience as well. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Rizkian. Tom.
Yeah, good afternoon. Overall, I need to agree with all my colleagues here. So we saw really a strong 2023 with a drop in charter demand or flights in 2024, where we these days try to get back on board for 2025. Bit of the trend from that side, which has been mentioned as well very briefly, we see more the short-haul flights or basically clients taking the long-haul flights on the commercial airline and jumping into the private jet in Europe, in the US or in Southeast Asia to continue their routing to the final destination. That's basically one of the big points we see as well from the clients here in Asia.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks very much, Tom. So the next topic I want to look at is the customer profile. Like, you guys have been in the industry for many years. So how have you seen the customer change, like the profile of people? So we'll go down again. Hibiki?
Yeah, in the recent years, we've definitely seen new customers for our charter clients. I think so 5 years, 6 years ago, it used to be the old well-known corporate clients mainly for us, whereas now we're getting more of the younger faces, especially from tech, investments, M&A, that kind of fields, and also we're seeing more customers from the legal side also, which is something new, and I'm glad that the younger generation is also using our charter services, but that's definitely one issue. because we've also seen transitions in businesses where the old business owner would pass the business on to the younger ones, and they don't really see the point of traveling privately. And I guess that's something that the industry has to deal with in the coming years. So yeah, quite a few new faces.
Okay. Ian?
Yeah, I slightly differently. Well, first of all, I think clients are far more informed than probably just availability of information. Brokers are far more informed about what options are out there. So you're seeing a very educated market, which is always good. And so I think that's the first thing. I think the second thing, we've felt a sort of a bifurcation of the market from an age group perspective. We're sort of seeing 25 to 35-year-olds who have made money either in the tech environment, crypto environment, or intergenerational wealth being passed down, who are making decisions on their own. They're choosing to fly privately rather than buy their own aircraft, they're looking at more less depreciating assets to do that. And then you're seeing an older crowd who may have been sort of 55, 65, 70, who are more not going to go buy their aircraft again, and therefore make the decision regarding flying in a lot more of efficient, but very much a more local type of flying. So you are seeing changes, but I would say education and knowledge base from the customer base is so much higher now than a decade ago.
Great, thanks, Ian. Jolie?
Yeah, I would say I mean, all this time, since I've been in this part of the industry and this part of the world, so I think there's really been a very much a big, evolutions of customers. So we started, in fact, Level Yacht started by helping aircraft owner chartering, because the aircraft may not be available all the time. It may be, in maintenance schedules, or maybe they need more than one plane when they travel. So 10 years ago, it was really established to serve a lot of the aircraft owners. So that's really the trend that how charter market started in Asia. Then, we were growing and then get into COVID. So COVID suddenly make the visibility of private travel so much bigger worldwide. So many people have seen it is flying while the commercial airlines were not. So that was very, very big visibility for our industry. So since then, the very, very big evolvement is really the new entrants into the market. And these people, probably, second generations, new wealth, wanted to try. So because they have seen it, and I think the massive growth we've seen in other markets like US and Europe, we have seen also quite a lot in Asia. The only probably the number not as great is one is fewer airplanes available, and also more expensive. If our price was similar when you charter aircraft in the US, probably you have a lot more customers. So I think that is really one of the point where the user fee much higher here. I think we all know. So it's definitely the trend is a lot more people coming into the market and demanding on different way of travel, different type of planes, and that's what we're seeing. And at the moment, I don't think the supply really covering for all the demand, but also pricing level is also need to be adjusted to the level that's sustainable for the supply and demand.
Thanks, Jolie. And Rizkian, in Indonesia, how are you seeing the customer profile changing?
Okay, what we see here, we see from the provider actually. So we have various provider. The provider have been evolved as well, such a benefactor, and even from the brokers or the operator, we provide much more various services, much more fleet to the client, and it brings the client to get evolved as well. So they got a lot of option. Let's say for those people who already able to get chartered an aircraft such a Gulfstream, which classification such as ultra long range aircraft, and currently we were able to provide them with lower class, which is such a entry level for them. So I think by providing a lot of options for the customers, it will brings the involvement to the clients to get involved as well. Yeah.
And Tom, with Luxaviation, how have you seen your client customer base change, evolve?
Similar what has been said already. So we see second generation, new money coming in, new clients or younger generation using the private jets to get around, etc. The demand is definitely quite high. A lot of requests coming in on a daily basis. When we see possibly as well, as Jolie mentioned as well, if clients from Europe or from the US coming this part of the world, it sometimes shocks them the price difference between flying around in Asia compared to the rest of the world. That's where we all need to work a bit together on it to improve it.
Thanks very much, Tom. Now I want to discuss a little bit about Southeast Asia and the broader Asia region. Like a big topic here is the growth of business aviation in Southeast Asia. And Asian Sky just released their data showing, once again, more growth in Southeast Asia. Singapore's shot up now. It's more than 80 aircraft here. So I am wondering too, what is driving the demand for business aviation in Southeast Asia? And I guess the side question is, to what extent is China driving the demand for business aviation in Southeast Asia? Ian, do you want to start off with?
Yeah, I think to a certain degree, it's a little bit of a runoff from COVID in the fact that people have got used to flying privately. They may have gone back to some commercial, but they got used to flying privately. So I'm not surprised that Southeast Asia in itself has an increase in demand in this part of the world. I think there's an acceptance of it as being part of what is a good business practice now rather than a luxury. I think that's something that's really changed in Asia in general. And China, to a certain degree, I'm not sure if it's directly affecting it, but maybe indirectly. Also, I think a lot of businesses around the world moved from Hong Kong to Singapore, as you know, which moved a lot of international mindsets down to Southeast Asia. But also, too, the world's growing, and you need the opportunity to be able to, if you want to expand your business, you can't always do it in the country you're in. So I think as Southeast Asia looks to the outside world to grow their businesses, so are their entrepreneurs, and that's going to grow this region. And as I said earlier, the potential of this market is significant when you look at the wealth that's in this region. So it hasn't got close to, it's on the start of the runway, not on the end of it.
Mm-hmm. Thanks a lot, Ian. Hibiki, what are your thoughts on what's driving the growth of Southeast Asia, and to what extent is it partly driven by China?
Yeah, I mean, one trend that we've been seeing lately is that the numbers in China, Hong Kong have been going slightly down, and instead Southeast Asia has been increasing, both in terms of charter and also aircraft ownership, number of aircraft based in this region. And there's definitely an economic element in that, and also the political elements in that when you think about Hong Kong. And I guess most of our clients that we had on our planes, they obviously own a business, but where do they get the money from? And many of their businesses, actually, there's a huge inflow of revenue from the Chinese market. And that essentially means if China slows down, there's going to be a reduction in charter activities and all that. But essentially, in Southeast Asia, comparing to Japan, where we initially started our business, there's much more demand for regional travel, and where there is little alternative. Either you have the airlines or you have to fly privately. I mean, no bullet trains. The land transportation is also going to take you ages somewhere, sometimes. So yeah, that's pretty much, I think, shaping the demand.
So it's because of the market's growing, but the commercial aviation network's not developed enough to serve the needs. Jolie, what's your take on what do you see as the key factors driving demand of business aviation in Southeast Asia, and how much of China is in the mix in that?
I think I can comment a bit on the China, the positive effects, because with the tariff, it's been going on for 2 presidency now. So with all that, we know that lots of factories are being built owned by Chinese, but probably with joint venture or investment into Southeast Asia countries to avoid that kind of political environment. So it's been going on, and we know that lots of countries have got the opportunity to benefit from that. So we see obviously the, more trade going on between China, and then with China also, the political in the West, and I think we see more on, China looking within, the Southeast Asia and within Asia as well to build ties, to have closer relationships. So I think with all that what's going on around the world, we do see, the focus and the shift of, focusing on Southeast Asia being, one of the area that, developed in the past, even before COVID, right? We've seen it. So I think there is definitely, quite a lot of those driven the growth really crossed the Southeast Asia and North Asia, traffic between, we see a lot, we arrange quite a lot. So we see that as, those are the positive impacts with more trades happening.
Mm-hmm. Thanks a lot, Jolie. So Rizkian, with Indonesia, like what's driving the demand for business aviation? Like to what extent is it the domestic market? You've got 17,000 islands. To what extent is it driven by what's happening domestically in Indonesia? And to what extent is business aviation in Indonesia being driven by external factors like maybe investment into the country?
Okay, in Indonesia, we had more than 17,000 islands with a lot of nature resources as well, which makes a lot of corporates such as mining industry look after it. And it's been growing up for the past 4 years. A lot of Chinese are moving to Indonesia as well. They do a lot of mining businesses in Indonesia. And then with this, since Indonesia has a lot of islands, and the most effective and efficient ways to reach from point A to point B to one island to another is through the air transport. So however, with this, I can say the air transport of business aviation will be alive for good in Indonesia, as long as there is no such changes on the in terms of the geographic. Mm-hmm. That's what I see.
Yes, you see a lot of growth in Indonesia. Yeah, they've got so much potential there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tom, what's your take on what's driving the demand for business aviation in Southeast Asia, and to what extent is it driven by China?
No, we see over the last year or so where we really did impact coming down from China, and we see quite a lot of competition coming down. So more operators in Southeast Asia coming from the north. So it's quite active. Mm-hmm. It's a fair competition, but where we see quite a lot going on. On the other side, we see as well, so all the OEMs with a big investment into the state-of-the-art facilities for the maintenance side, be it in Kuala Lumpur, be it in Singapore, etc. So it's quite a lot of investments being done this side of the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the next topic I want to move on to is the topic of a legal charter. So for this question, I think we'll start with Ian, and then I'll get Rizkian to talk on this topic as well, because Rizkian's company operates both PK, Indonesia registered aircraft, as well as foreign registered. So I think Rizkian might have a point of view on this. So Ian, what's the whole issue of a legal charter in Asia Pacific? It's been going on for years now. So what can be done to try and tackle this issue?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a regulatory point, first and foremost, but it's also sits in a lot of the people who have a direct connection with the end customer, whether it's a broker or an operator. Fundamentally, you're cutting corners. To be in the grey market, you are taking a huge risk. It's illegal, but separate to that, the risks you're taking for a cheap price in the market really isn't sustainable. And it's not rewarding good behaviour for people that are acting in the right manner. And it really brings down the entire reputation of the industry. Good brokers that we know, we work with regularly, know the difference between the two, and will stay well clear of the grey market. But we also need help from regulators all around the world to do ramp checks, et cetera, to ensure this doesn't continue. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, there's a right price for this product in the market. And anything beneath that, either someone's covering the loss or someone's cutting a corner to get there. And you're cutting that corner, the last thing you want to do at 35,000 feet is to worry about which corner was cut. And so, for us, anyone who's doing the right thing, which is 99.9% of the industry, needs to be protected by itself and its regulators to ensure that the illegal charter is not something that can be apparent in Southeast Asia or anywhere else around the world.
Mm-hmm. Thanks a lot, Ian. So Rizkian, I'm just going to turn over to you. I guess the reason I'm asking you this question is because you're PK registered. Theoretically, people, once they enter Indonesia, they start doing multiple domestic legs in your country. They should be on a PK registered aircraft. So what can be done to sort of stop this illegal charter?
Okay, in terms of the illegal charter, if we talk about the risk, we already know about the risk. I don't think I need to tell what the risk of using the legal charter. If we talk about the regulation is there. If we talk about the regulator is there. It is the matter of, are we going to provide the client with the illegal charter, or are we going to provide with the client with the legal charter? I believe for the end user or the direct client, they wouldn't be able to reach the illegal charter by themselves. Mm-hmm. It's us, whether the operator, the broker, or anyone else who run the business, anyone else who can reach that illegal charter. It is our responsibility to be responsible to our clients, whether we wanted to give them, just the matter of the price of, okay, in terms of the price, probably the client might be able to look, oh, okay, this one is much cheaper, I will choose this one. But if we didn't give them that choices or that, that option, they wouldn't be able to choose. They wouldn't be able to pick that options, right? So it is our responsibility to make the filter which option that we wanted to offer to the client. And for the Indonesia domestic flight, you're asking about how many legs or some things, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, for Indonesia, the regulation is quite strict. I believe there are some countries in Southeast Asia have the same regulation, such as Malaysia, Vietnam, Thailand. They have the cabotage regulation for the foreign operators or foreign aircraft tails or aircraft registration. They wouldn't be able to run any charter legal mission in domestic Indonesia, because it strictly has to be with Indonesian registration, which is PK. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So Tom, I'm going to ask you about this question, because I know when we had the discussion earlier when we were preparing for this panel. So in terms of a legal charter, what are some, like, looking at what happens in other countries like North America, Europe, and how they tackle a legal charter, what some of the lessons that could be learned in Asia in terms of how we can better crack down on a legal charter?
I would say it's possibly a bit different in Asia compared to Europe, when Europe, most of our aircraft are on the AOC, so it's a different setup already, whereas a lot of private operated aircraft only this part of the world. And I think it comes down to the situation of educating the client, explaining what it is, what is required to be on a legal charter, asking them to go to the different operators, ask for the copy of the AOC, a copy of the insurance certificate, and explain them. And the clients, depending who they're reaching out to, they might not be even aware that they were really on an illegal charter. So it really comes down for us to educate the clients what it takes, what it needs to be on the legal side.
Yeah. And Jolie, what's been your experience, and what can we do to crack down on a legal charter?
I think the main point, I agree with the colleague saying, is really the education. Who arrange those flights? It's really within the industry. Who operate the plane, knowing there's not actually, if it's a private, it's not actually the owner. So I think we need to really as an industry, we really need to step up ourselves and then say, look, there need to be education of people that we hire. That need to be good practices. Also, why not even get into certain criteria or exams? Even real estate agent, they need to do exams, right? So why can't we have those regulations on brokers, right? So, I support all that, because everything else is very regulated in aviation, but people arranging it, they don't need the necessary, regulated environment to do this. So I think it's very important that we all have to step up, as an industry. I've been in industry for 25 years. I really support the sustainable growth, and, I see lots of young people come in. It's very important they understand, that impact, like it will really bring down the industry. We're growing, we have lots of potential, but if something bad happens, we're all going to be suffering. So it's very important as we all grow, is everybody need to hold up that standard and get educated, and to really, of course, we can rely on authority to be the policemen and all that, but sometimes they don't even understand how our industry works, So it's down to education. So I think the practitioner, particularly the one arranging those flights, really need to have high awareness and to really, to really follow that standard, and the people operating those planes also. So, I think, the client themselves, they don't know, right? The client themselves, they are led and they are told by supposed to be professionals. So it's very important that, we uphold that.
Okay, thanks very much, Jolie. Hibiki, what's your take on this issue?
No, I really have to agree with all the panelists. I mean, we have to be upfront to the clients, educate the market about the illegal charter activities, and really about the sustainability point of view. I have to agree. In order for the industry to provide good service, to provide safe service, moreover, they need to be in the market for a long time. It's not going to happen like this. It's so if companies are competing on the price, if they are overselling illegal charters, it's not sustainable for us. And not just for us, it's not sustainable for the industry in terms of for the clients too, that we can offer them good service, safe service once again. So yeah, what we can do to crack it down. I wish the regulators, if they could do a bit more on-site inspections. I think there are many ways to do it. If I've seen a slight increase in that in Malaysia. If other countries could follow suit, that'd be really good.
Thanks a lot. So we've talked about how important it is to educate the customer so they're more discerning about the differences in what's being offered to them. And I guess then that's a really important way to differentiate yourself in the market too, isn't it, from all of those other operators that are not doing the right thing. So the next question I'm going to ask is a very broad question, which is, you guys you're operating in a very competitive business. So what are the different ways that you can differentiate yourself in the market? So maybe I'll start off, because I haven't asked Jolie a question first, so I'll start off with Jolie. So Jolie, what are the different ways that you see that charter operators can differentiate themselves in the market?
I think it's of course, the standards, all that is, a prerequisite, really. I think as charter operator, because we work with a lot of them, why we choose from the other. One is, how they can actually support us, how they can actually understand our side of the road. So, that dynamic is very important. If you're in the charter business, there is quite a substantial difference of a charter operator, a real charter operator, and a management company that supports a charter flight, because the reactions, the responsiveness could be very different. So I think, if charter market, that's the topic here today, is they want to get more, they really need to be able to, differentiate themselves. We supporting a charter usually could be ad hoc. On the flight may be more, organized, and maybe, it's different. The expectation may be different. But charter also, your crew is dealing with every day a different customer. When you deal with owner, the crew is dealing with one, regular client. All that demand is very different. So I think it's really the training, the commitment, to make a charter flight happen. Getting the permit, to really push for it, push through the envelope, things like that. So the flight can happen. So sometimes, we see lots of even medevac and things like that, right? So I think and the other one is to have more offerings. More offerings always good. Then you can actually if we need different size of the plane, if you only specialize in the large one, then we can only call you, on that. But if you have more offerings and, you have more the selections and, also regional options, and all those, you will probably come into as you will become, the first option that we will think of, from the buying side, like that's the role that we play. So I would say, and then also the, the local knowledge is very important. So we work with lots of local operators, who have local AOC, and that is very important, that local knowledge support, because some parts of the world, even, Indonesia or Vietnam and all that, we need local operators, to support those flights. So the local knowledge is very important. So I think those already got a strong differentiation themselves, but it's the one that, will cover around the world, then is the responsiveness and, how closely you can work with the end client, to support that trip and make that happen and committed, like we are one team.
Thanks, Joe. I asked Jolie this question because Jolie deals with a lot of different operators. So Ian, with VistaJet, like how have you worked to differentiate VistaJet in the market?
Yeah, this is our 21st year. So, and I think we've been a disruptor all 21 years. So I think in terms of how we differentiate ourselves, we're on a very long journey to do that. And, when I first came into the industry, long before I started working for Vista, I was told very early, do not buy the aircraft, do not take it on your books, get the depreciation off your books as quick as you can, and then you can make money. And so for our business, we've gone the opposite direction. We've taken that risk on, and it's been a long journey to get ourselves to the size where we have the scale to continue to differentiate ourselves. And I think that's something that's been, again, being a disruptor and to be such a long-term disruptor in the market doesn't make you very popular, but it does give the customer an alternative to aircraft ownership or charter, and it all has a perfect place within a market that we see as growing considerably over the next 10 years, not just this region, but worldwide. So, for us, the differentiation is don't buy the asset. You can have all the advantages. And for us to be a global operator, to be able to offer that, you need to be in every single location around the world. So we'll keep on doing what we're doing to differentiate, which is in essence is in our business model. But fundamentally, to what Jolie was mentioning, it's about providing something that the client wants. And there's more and more options that are becoming available, whether it's business models, whether it's technology, whether it's aircraft types. And being the expert in your field will enable you to grow your business and differentiate from any other competitor. And that's our entire aim as a company, but it should be everyone's aim in this industry to be the best you can in the field you're in.
Thanks a lot, Ian. So Hibiki, with your company, you're relatively new into the market. So how have you worked to differentiate yourself?
So we have been in the market since 2004, but
okay, sorry, correct. Right. No, you should correct.
You're right. Though we started with the Phenix jet brand in 2017. Yeah. So you're correct. So that brand is, I believe, the only company that's owned by Japanese American investors, and I usually say that we're a company that has a mixture of the American aviation efficiency, the operational efficiency, plus the Japanese service. So through that, we've placed ourselves as the premium operator in Asia, where clients, no matter if it's owners, aircraft owners, or charter clients, if they come to us, they won't be disappointed. I had a client just 2 weeks ago who chartered a plane. They said they had the best cabin service ever on a plane. So we try to stick to that standard, and now we're trying to bring that service also to the Southeast Asian region. And of course, I'm aware that we have many more clients here that are more cost conscious. So what we are trying to do is to reduce our pricing level, but still keep the good service that we offer, that we used to offer in Japan also. So yeah, pretty much we try to be still the premium operator here in this region.
Thanks a lot, Hibiki. So, Rizkian, in Indonesia, how are you working to differentiate yourself in your market?
Well, for us as Indonesian operator holding AOC 135, we're actually operating 3 aircraft. the Legacy 600, and 2 aircraft are available for charter, which is the Gulfstream G450 and the Challenger A50. And we currently have 2 additional aircraft, the Cessna Citation 700 Longitude, along with the King Air. Even for the King Air, we have few types of the King Air. The King Air B200 GT and also the 350. Why do we wanted to get these various fleet? Because we have been trying to understand the client demand, especially in Indonesia. As we know, Indonesia has more than 7,000 islands. This is a maritime country. The most effective and efficient way is through the air transport. As sometimes, in some area, we have limitation. We have some restrictions, such short, long runway, which is probably for the heavy jet, it wouldn't be able to, to perform there. So we see we can, fulfill this demand with another type of the fleet. So that's why we're trying to understand the client demand through providing them with the various options. Mm-hmm. So this is what differentiates us than others operator in Indonesia.
Okay, so I know we're short of time, but I'm still going to ask the question to our last 2 panelists. So Tom, how does Lux differentiate itself in the market?
I would add a bit that it's the customer journey we are looking at. It's not only the flight itself, but from the Luxaviation group, we are operating some 80 FBOs around the world. It's when the client enters the FBOs, is going to the aircraft, taking the flight itself. So being around the client from A to Z on his flight, on his journey around the globe, etc., to make it happen that is going safe as well upon arrival, helping with more additional services, be it on the car bookings, to get really to the hotel or to the end destination of the client. Of course, keeping the flexibility on the schedule as well, as we see it quite a lot on the private usage, that the client is delaying his flights, is bringing the flight forward, that to keep that kind of flexibility on the charter side as well, to make the journey happen and not to upset the client.
Thanks a lot, Tom. And Jolie, like you were managing TAG for many years, then you've come in now with Le Voyage. How have you tried to position Le Voyage in the market?
I think it's a really good opportunity in the current market. Like I mentioned earlier, we see lots of new entrants, emerging market, the people have not experienced before. As a management company, you're dealing with very mature client who's ready to buy. It's ultra high net worth individuals. And, we know that the trend are, the people, the second generation, they don't really want to own necessarily. They just want to have access. They want to, it's a way of lifestyle and travel, So, because ownership, that also comes with a lot of burdens. Sometimes your aircraft, may not be able to, if you buy a, mid-range aircraft, you can't really, go too far, then you still have to charter, for those long-haul trips, so you may not want to take, your 6 hours or 7 hours plane to go into, North America from Asia, for example. So it's not really, one aircraft can fulfill all the traveling. So I think the trend we're seeing is really the development on the charter market. I would say, that is the time, if you ask me 5 or 10 years ago, it may not be the time of, this opportunity of the very integrated platform, that, people can come into experience, combination of commercial and private, and while, making private travel as part of the journey, or, a compartment of the journey. So, ownership is a very different. I think it, is a much more advanced. Although in Asia, 20 years ago, we've seen it started with ownership, then charter, which is obviously was unusual compared to other market. But that's how it growed, and we see a lot of but a lot of those owners may not actually still own planes. They don't own planes anymore. They probably now gone to chartering. So market have changed and shifted. So I think right now with the charter market and people coming into charter as an industry growth is more sustainable that way. You take step 1 and then you slowly go up to step 10, not start with owning an aircraft and then, deal with all the infrastructure issue and the disappointment. And, so we have seen a lot of those, back in 15, 20 years ago. But now I think with better infrastructure, more developed, more talents in the industry, more availability of resources, more transparent of technologies and helping, I think, the market is there positioned to grow. grow, and charter is, you know, a way of getting more entrance into the market and grow into ownership. So it's, you know, the right directions.
Thank you very much, Jolie. And we've come to the end of our session. I'd just like to say thank you to our panellists. If we can give a round of applause to our panellists today. Very much appreciate